In this video, we're going to get Bluetooth data out of this Victron SmartSolar charge controller using an ESP32, it's tiny, a PoE splitter, and a Cat6 cable to get it in to Home Assistant. Yes, I am back here at my special gate box of many things, and if you've missed out on any of that, there is both a video on the gate intercom from Unifier as well as this thing, which is the SM Lite PoE Zigbee powered router coordinator thing. So go check those out. But this time, I have alluded to this in previous videos, is that this solar charge controller from Victron is really good. I mean, it hasn't skipped a beat, and I can get data out using the app on my phone via Bluetooth, but I really want it into Home Assistant. So we're gonna fix that, and I'm gonna do that using this is an M5 stack Atom Lite. It's tiny. This is an ESP32 board with a few extra bits. I'm gonna power that with this PoE splitter. So basically get PoE power out of the switch and into a USB plug that I can put this on, like that. And then I'm gonna use just a patch cable to connect to the switch. And that's it. So I'm just gonna plug that in. And this is then gonna use the Wi-Fi connection of my access point that's up above. And that's it. It's going to sniff Bluetooth data. So in other words, this little thing has a Bluetooth receiver in it. I've also done another video where I used an M5 stack Atom Lite for a Bluetooth proxy, so go check that out. That's really, really useful to get Bluetooth places where you wouldn't have it otherwise. And it's going to sniff or capture the data from here, pretend it's essentially my login on the app, capture the data from this, and we're going to put it into Home Assistant. So that's the only setup we got to do here. That's pretty simple. But yeah, I've already set this up, but I'm going to show you all about how to do that and the code and where to get it and everything you need. So stick around as we, well, dive into Home Assistant to do all these things. All right, we're in Home Assistant. And let me show you where you would start to set this up. So there's something called ESPHome, if you're not familiar with that. It's either here on the left. It comes as part of Home Assistant now. It used to be an add-on. So install that if you haven't. ESPHome is what you need. ESP is the type of board, usually the circuit board that was used. In this case, I'm using this, which is a M5 stack Atom Lite, which is an ESP32 board. ESP32 is very commonly used for IoT, devices and things. And it means that we can program this, which is kind of neat. So ESPHome allows us to program this through Home Assistant, which is a very neat way of doing it. So I'm going to connect it here to my USB, which is connected to my computer. So now this is hooked up, it's got power, and we can access it. So in Home Assistant here in ESPHome, I'm going to go click New Device. I'm going to give it a name. We're going to call this one YouTube Test, because I'm not going to actually set it up because I've already set one up down there that I'll show you after this. And then we go, it says here the device will be configured to connect to the Wi-Fi network stored in your secrets. Okay, fair enough. So my secrets is obviously where I keep passwords and stuff like that. So if you want to know more about how all that works in ESPHome, go in and check out, I think it was my first water tank video, but I'll link it up there and go and check that out. There's a lot more info on it. ESPHome will now create your configuration and install it on your device. Very good. Connect your ESP8266 or ESP32, so two kinds of boards that will be supported, with USB cable, which is what I've done. Okay, we're going to connect. And then we're going to choose the port. So in this case, the port I have is port COM5 serial port, I believe. Maybe 6, we'll find that out. I can never remember. So it must be COM6. There we go, preparing installation. There we go. And see how it pops up straight away. So in ESPHome, you have, your devices. So this is offline currently because, well, it's not configured yet. You can see the other one I have, which is at the gate. We saw just before. That is online. So let's just prepare the installation here. All right, so we're installing sort of a base image really for the ESP32. It says it'll take about 2 minutes. Usually it's a bit quicker, but we'll see. All right, the configuration is installed. Okay, so we'll close that. All right, so that's how you set up a brand new ESPHome device. This is offline for the minute because, well, I have Mac filtering on my Wi-Fi for good reasons. But yeah, if I set it all up and it would be online, then you would get one like the one I have already set up here next to it. If you click Edit, you can see the actual YAML that is used to, well, configure it. And the YAML that you need, because there's a whole bunch in here, as you can see, is actually something I got from Fabian Schmidt. Sounds German. He has this repository on GitHub, which is the ESPHome Victron BLE or Bluetooth connection library that he's made, and it's here, and you can just use it. And this is amazing. So let me just show you this before I go back to the code. So Fabian has put all this on here, and there's, you know, all the various support devices. There's a lot of Victron devices supported. I have a SmartSolar solar controller. So that's probably that one. So that's supported because, well, it works, I know that. And then we have how to configure it. So you need to go to the Bluetooth app on your phone, connect to your Victron device, go to product info, and then go to show encryption data, and then get the instant readout encryption data. That is how the M5 stack or your ESP32 board will authenticate with the solar controller or the Victron device that you're using and connect to it and get the data. So it's pretending essentially to be your app. That's how it works. So once you have all that, you open settings, yada yada. Then he's put in an example, and I pretty much just copy pasted this. That's pretty much what I did. That's how simple it is. So you can just click up here, copy. You get all of this data. He's set it up for both a smart shunt and a smart solar. I just deleted everything to do with the shunt, and that was fine in here. And so let's go back to the code. And of course, there's a whole bunch of stuff here about how everything works and what devices supported in which way, etc, etc, etc. There's a lot of information on this GitHub repo. So go check that out. Make sure it works with the device that you have from Victron. And then here is some example code. There's other examples as well. There's more code that you can find. So let's just go back to the code that I have on mine that works. So I have here a friendly name. I have some external components. This is very important because that is how you import that library from Fabian. So you need that. Let's see if I can make this a bit bigger actually. There we go. A bit bigger for you. So we have here this GitHub repo. You need that. And then there's the type of board. Sometimes it won't compile properly, I find, with the default Arduino type. So I've changed mine to ESP-IDF, which is a different framework, and that seems to work better for me. So maybe you need to do that too. Then we have the API encryption key. This is for connecting within Home Assistant, so that each device has a unique key. Then we have over-the-air updates from ESPHome. There's a password here that it needs to validate or authenticate to do over-the-air updates. So when you change the YAML, you can do it over the air. You don't need to plug it into your computer every time, which is neat. Then we have my Wi-Fi username, password, or SSID rather, and password. And then we have a fallback hotspot. If you need it, you can connect to the device itself if you can't get Wi-Fi, mainly for debugging purposes in this case. All right. So here's all the Victron stuff. So I've copied out the smart shunt stuff, as I said before, and then you need, here is my MAC address and bind key. That's where you need from the app. That's where you put in there. So those two blurred out bits there in the instructions, that is what you need to put in here so that it can authenticate. And then there's a bunch of sensors. I've kept the default sensors, which is output voltage, output current, yield today, PV or solar panel power, and load current. So how much am I actually using right now? What is the current going out, right? And then there's some binary sensors down here, which is it in a fault state and what is the error or has the error. And then we have some text sensors, which is the error reasons and the state. So I haven't really used those yet, but if there's a fault, that will surface into Home Assistant as well, which is kind of neat. So let's see how that looks in Home Assistant. So you do all this, you click install up here, that installs it on your ESP32 board, and then it's it's online because it's on the network. And then if I go into my settings here, let's go to ESP32. By the way, because I missed this step, when you have a new ESPHome device, it shows up here as discovered, and you got to add it first. It doesn't automatically come in. That, for some reason, I missed that step. But anyway, you don't have to because I just told you. If I go down to ESPHome here, which is there, we have 10 devices. I have a bunch of Bluetooth proxies. Go and check out that video again. That is such a cool way of expanding your Bluetooth network with Home Assistant. And then I have some power monitors or power plugs that can monitor power. And then down here is the Victron BT or Bluetooth sniffer, as I called it. So let's open that. And then here is a bunch of information about what we get. So we have sensors. These are the same ones you just saw in the YAML. They just now come into Home Assistant with actual values. So we have has error off. We don't have an error. It's not in a fault state. Here's the load current. That is 1.2 amp. The output current is 4.4 amp. And output voltage is 27. So that's what's going into the battery for charging it. And obviously when there is, you can see right now the load, the power is 160, 170 watts. That's about, it's not max that I can get with the panels I have down there. It's about, maybe my max is about 220, 230 or something like that. So it's pretty good. It's collecting a lot. So these are actually the values I want. These three here, the current, the voltage, and the power. And then I do want the state. So usually there are 3 different states for charging. Bulk is put everything in there, go for broke, and just charge the thing. Just all that you can. So the solar controller is just charged, putting everything you can into the batteries. Then it goes to ABS, I think it is, which I now can't remember, absolute or something, what that stands for. And that is when you get to about 80% and it starts having that, I've got to be careful with charging now, not overcharging him, that sort of state. And then there's float, which means that you just have power, which is sort of being used. You can't charge the batteries anymore, so you're just sort of powering whatever devices are using the battery power. So obviously you want float at the end of the day, because well, for me, I want to charge the batteries so I can use them overnight, right? And there's how much have we collected today. So 0.23 kilowatt hours. On a good day, I get about 1.2, 1.3 kilowatt hours with the setup that I have. So I can monitor that as well. Okay, down here we have a configuration entity, the firmware version. I'm not really using that. If I need to update the firmware, I'll go down and do it with the Bluetooth app, to be honest. I don't need to have that in Home Assistant necessarily. But that's it. So let's do something with this data. I've made a little automation here. So if I go to Node-RED, which is still my favorite way of doing automations because it's visual and it's much easier to do large sort of flows of automations, I find. I'll go here to my gate. There we go. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here. There's a few automations here from previous videos. There's one here from when I set up my doorbell down at the gate. There's one here for opening the gate from a notification. And then I can open the gate permanently. So that's just if I need to have it open at all times, I can sort of stop it just before it fully opens and that'll keep it open. But we have here, I have, well, this one in particular. So every 10 minutes, I am checking, this is what this node here does, and I'm checking the gate battery voltage, right? So right now you can see the last checked at 1203, and it was at 26.97 volts. So if I double click on that, you can see that I'm getting the sensor.victron BT sniffer MPPT output voltage. That's the sensor name. And I'm saying if the state is less than 24, so less than 24 volts, meaning it's running out or low, I want to know. So that's my state, or my, the state checker every 10 minutes. If that is the case, I then notify Chris mobile, and I notify Lars mobile, which is my phone. And I can then do that here with an action, which is notify dot, and then the mobile, which is part of Home Assistant as a device. And then I have here is a message, gate battery voltage is, and then the payload, that's the actual voltage that comes out, that's in the payload. And then just a V for volt. And then the title of that notification is gate battery voltage is low. So if I now change that, for example, I can go in here and I can just show you. So we know it's 26 point something. So if I say 28 and we deploy that, and then I'll show you here on the phone. And if I click on this to manually trigger it like that, there we go. You can see here that the gate battery voltage is low. There you go. So that works really well. That's very, very useful. So we get an early notification if something's running low. Now, 24 volt might be too low. I don't know. Maybe it needs to be 24.5 or whatever, but that's easy now to fix. So I'm just going to change that back because otherwise I'm going to keep getting a message every 10 minutes. So that is an easy way of using these sensors. And yes, I have a few errors I need to fix. It's my switch bot lock on the guest cottage, which for some reason doesn't send battery details all the time. Anyway, the one I was working on here is that I want to know when it goes off bulk charging. So when does it switch from bulk to something else? Because that means that I now know that the batteries are almost fully charged, right? And it's going to get really important in winter when there's not a lot of sun. It's not so bad here in summer, but that's another automation. And that's why I asked on the channel, what do you think I should do with this data? Of course, automation is what it's all about. So I will get 240 volt down there at some point. Most of the infrastructure is there. I'm working on that. And of course, the batteries are then no longer needed, but I'm still going to use this somewhere else, this setup. So this is super useful to know, well, what is the state of all of my setup with solar panels and batteries, and what is charging? Is it charging? I could get alerts for when it stops charging, right? Alerts for faults. That might be a good one to, you know, if fault state is true, what is the fault? But yeah, so that's really simple actually to set up. Surprisingly easy. Use an ESP32, such as an MFAT 5-stack Atom Lite. I'll put links to everything down below as well. And yeah, then you have data from your Victron Solar Smart Controller or Victron device inside a Home Assistant. So I hope this video was useful. If so, please consider subscribing or maybe leaving a comment if there's other questions about this, because I'm sure there will be. I'll try and answer them. And maybe give it a thumbs up or something. Yeah. All right. I think that's it for this time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.